Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, I am so excited because Megan Sumrell is here with me. And Megan and I have known each other for a little over a year now, and she is just an absolutely brilliant person when it comes to productivity and time management and planning and all of the things that you guys know I love to talk about all the time. So this is going to be an excellent conversation. I'm so excited Megan is here. And so let me tell you a little bit about her, and then we're going to dive in. And what we're going to be talking about today is how to really reclaim your time and achieve what Megan calls as work-life harmony. And so we're going to be talking about that today. And if you don't know Megan yet, you definitely want to know her after today's episode. So she is a former corporate techie turned entrepreneur. Fun fact, her and I have kind of similar backgrounds. As a business owner, a mom, a wife, she knows exactly how hard it is to juggle all of the things while still maintaining your own sense of self and purpose. And so when her daughter was born back in 2010, and she felt like the life as she knew it completely changed, and she set about a whole new way to look at managing her time and organizing her calendar and doing it in more of a feminine way, which we're going to talk about today. And so she took her 20 plus year career in systems and processes and applied it to one of her favorite things, time management. So today, Megan's a time management and productivity coach for women who are seeking work plus life harmony. And she teaches strategies to help women get out on top of their time, their calendar, and their goals while getting rid of stress, overwhelm, and exhaustion. So who doesn't want all those things? So Megan, welcome. I'm so excited you're here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'll tell you, it's like, I'm a little nervous because you're an expert in this space. So I'm like, whew, all right, I got to show up good here for Krista and her gang.
Oh my gosh, guys, really seriously, Megan is absolutely amazing. I was so excited when I first met her and got to know her. And she is just incredibly innovative in her business. She's just so generous with her time. Like, I can't tell you how many times she's helped me with things. Like, there might be a digital planner coming in the future, and Megan might have had something to do with that. But with all of that being said, Megan, I think one of the things that I appreciate so much about you and why I wanted to have you on the show is I feel like you're somebody who really truly walks your talk. And so I want to hear from you kind of how other people can juggle all the things and still maintain their sense of self and purpose, and how you manage to do that so well with all the things that you have going on.
Well, and the reason why I feel like you and I are so in sync with each other is at the heart of it is it's leaning things out, right? You can't do everything all the time. You can't serve everybody. You can't be the 100% go-to person for absolutely everything in your life. And I think as women in particular, that's hard. It's hard for us to let go because oftentimes things that we're holding on to, we don't even realize that we're holding on to it. It was left over from, a time in life when we had to do it. And then we just kind of make it part of our systems and processes. And we never realize 5 years later, like, why the hell am I still cutting my child's steak? Like, they can cut their own meat, but it's habitual, right? And so getting crystal clear on understanding your priorities and the limitations that you have with your time, those two together are what really help you make smart choices on exactly what you want to be doing and when you want to do it.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And I love seeing you do that. I feel like you do that incredibly well. And it's so easy in theory. We all know this, but it can be really hard to do in practice.
100%, because particularly people either fall in the camp of being total people pleasers, like we're the yes person, or we're so riddled with fear we swing and both actually come from fear, but some people swing the pendulum so far to being no to everything because they just want to, hold it all in. And either way, if you're on the extreme of yes to everything or no to everything, that you're just going to miss out on so many opportunities that probably were a better use of your time.
Yeah, so true. And so I feel like that's not exactly what you talk about with work plus life harmony, but I feel like that's yet another version of harmony. And so
It
tell
is.
us what work plus life harmony means. Why is it so important to you, and how do you think that's really going to help people with that time management in their day?
Yeah, and again, it comes back to this need, I think, as women to do everything and be everything for everybody. And, a lot of people are using the term work life balance, and I really, really don't like it because when we think of balance, we think of everything equal. Like if you think of those old scales with the two dishes and we're trying to match it so everything's even. And I see so many women trying to live their life like this without even realizing it, they're doing it. And what I mean by that is they're trying to either in a given day give every single facet of their life the equal amount of time that they feel it should have, or they try and serve too many roles in their life at the same time in an effort to be balanced. So they're trying to type up an email for a client while they're trying to cook dinner, while they're only halfway listening to what their spouse is saying, and then they're letting the dog in and out, and they're doing everything all at once because if they're thinking, I need to be balanced. And instead, when we shift into this concept of harmony, and for any other music fans out there, like harmony is definitely a part of music. Think about like a big orchestra or a large band if you like music. How often is every single instrument getting equal time? Like hardly ever, right? Sometimes it's, that the guitar is having a great solo and the drummer's not doing anything. Or if you're watching an orchestra, it may be that the wind section isn't playing while the brass section is. It is not balanced, but because each instrument is doing its job and it's shining when it needs to, and it's maybe not when it shouldn't, it creates this beautiful sense of harmony. And so this is what I am leaning into when I talk about work life harmony. Is it's really finding a way to kind of organize strategically all the roles that you play, all the things that you have on your never ending task list, but doing it in a way that leaves you feeling harmonious instead of exhausted and strung out because you checked every box balanced instead.
Oh yeah, and for all the checklist lovers out there and the
And
box
I am
checkers
one.
out there, I might be too, just
Yeah.
saying.
But it might mean one day there's one thing on your to-do list and another day there's 10. It might mean that one day your business is not forefront and something else is. And it might mean another day you're leaning in to, like, you just know if you could just have this day to go all in on this one project, you'd get it done. And so you're 90% there. But at the end of the week, you feel really good because the most important stuff got done in a way that didn't stress you out, but it may not look equal, and that's okay.
Yeah, I really love that. I talk about balance a lot, but I talk about it I think more similar to the
Mhm.
way that you talk about harmony. And I do think it's so important because so often people can make themselves crazy trying to achieve this perfect level and it's not realistic. And so I love that your approach is really all about look at what's most important and focus there, right?
Yeah.
And be present in the moment and the things that you're doing, right? I think that makes so much sense. So tell us about your top program. I want
Yeah.
to hear all about this, right? And so Megan has a top program. She also has a top planner, both a printed and digital planner. And this is your proprietary
Yeah.
approach to time management and organization and productivity. And so, why did you feel this was needed? Like, walk us through what originated this and what your actual program is.
Okay. And I didn't wake up one day and say, I'm going to create a time management course. I don't think many entrepreneurs do that, right? Things evolve and they come out of necessity. And for me, it came out of a personal necessity in my life. I was still full time corporate in a lot of the similar circles that you traveled in, Krista, doing a lot of that same work. And really, I was brought into software organizations to help them build high quality software better, faster, cheaper. So I was really brought in to look at the big picture. How are we getting the software out the door and how do we change it up so that we are streamlining those. What processes and systems can we put in place? So I was out doing this for a living. Now, what subtly happened is I got married later in life, had our daughter later in life, and it got to the point where, between running this full time corporate job and trying to navigate a very high needs toddler, um, one thing after another kept happening at work that just made me realize this isn't going well for me. I remember a really pivotal moment of I had a just 10 minutes away from a massive corporate presentation with like all the C suite, and the phone rings and it's the preschool, and it's, you got to come and you better come now and get her. And their husband's out of town. We have no family. I'm stuck. And that conversation was not one I enjoyed having with my boss. And at that moment, I'm like, okay, I need to find something else. I don't know what it is. And then only about 2 weeks later, I was at the park and pushing her in the swings. And the mom next to me, chatting it up, wherever. And she says, "What do you do for fun?" And I had no answer. Like, I don't even remember the last time I had fun. I'm not even sure I know what fun is if it looked me in the face. And that night I went home and I can remember like crying in my closet because sometimes that's the only space you get. And I knew something needed to change. I'm like, this isn't okay anymore. Now, on the outside looking in, I got a lot of those, man, I don't know how you do it all. You look so, because guess what? I was waking up early, I was staying up late, and I was going 24/7 at like 100 miles an hour. So it looked super productive and like I was getting it all done, but it wasn't getting done well. I'd completely sacrificed myself along the journey and I wasn't enjoying any of it. A job I loved wasn't fun anymore. I wanted to be a mom, yet that didn't feel fun. Time with my husband just felt like extra work. And so it hit me as I was laying in bed. I'm like, you do this for a living. Like, Megan, you literally do this for a living. Why don't you take yourself on as a client? So that's what I did. And the first thing I always like to do when I realize something's not working is try and figure out, why isn't it working? Because I was using the same systems to manage my calendar I'd had for the last 20 years in corporate, and it had worked great. But here's some subtle things that it changed. Number one, the introduction of technology. While I love it, man, it can derail everything. You are now accessible all the time, right? And then, second, honestly, starting a family. Now I had all these new roles and responsibilities on, and I hadn't figured out a good way to navigate that. And quite frankly, all of the time management things that I'd learned in the past, because I've been through all the courses. I did all the Stephen Covey stuff. I've done the Michael Hyatt courses. I've done the Darren Hardy's, all of them. They take this very, what I call masculine approach of very siloed times of your day. And when I was younger, I had that, right? You go to work, you come home, and there was no meeting because there wasn't technology. You can bring your work home with you. And so all these, let's do our time blocking. And every Monday from 9 to 11, you're going to do this. And every Wednesday looks like this. It's very masculine. And I definitely have a lot of very masculine qualities. And I think that's why it worked for me really well. But now I had all this other stuff and everything was integrated. And so I couldn't live with these two silos of work and the rest of my life, because the rest of my life now needed like 12 silos of its own. And so once I recognized that, I'm like, let's throw everything out the window and now take yourself on as a client. And we need to find a better way to manage all of these things and find a way to get them onto your calendar. And so that was actually the birth of what is now the top program. And as people started noticing differences in me, family and friends, I was invited to speak at a lot of local conferences for working women on how to better manage your time. And now here we are, and I've full-time left corporate and have stepped 100% into this because after watching it work for so many other women, like, I've got to get this out to as many people as possible. And I know that's a terribly long story.
No, it's fascinating. And I feel like I'm not a mom, right? But I felt like I still resonated with
Oh,
so
you don't
much
have to
of
be a
what
mom
you
to
were
feel that.
saying. Yeah, exactly. And
It's
I mean,
women and men. We're different, and that's
mhm.
okay. okay. But we carry the burden of so much emotionally between our ears with family and friends. And is this person okay? And is that person okay? And we volunteer and we do all that, that we've got to find a system that acknowledges that and says, this is our reality. So how are we going to fit it all in?
Yeah, yeah, I really, really love that. And so, what is your approach to planning? Because you approach it a little bit differently, right? You do more bottoms up instead of top down. So, tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about your approach for planning.
So, yes. So, when I talk about bottom up versus top down, I think of four levels of planning. And the bottom starts with weekly planning, not daily planning. And I think pretty much every male time management coach teaches daily planning, but that's a whole nother topic. So, weekly planning at the bottom, then monthly planning, then quarterly, then annual. Now, what most people do is when they're teaching workshops on we're going to get productive and this is the year we're going to do the things, is they start right off up at the top. Let's start visioning. Let's start dreaming. Let's start creating those big goals. And then they might even take it through. Now let's break it down and, figure out an actual, milestones to help get you there. And you're all excited. And then you get home and you're like, okay, well, first milestones in 6 weeks. And then you look at your day-to-day life, you're like, how the hell, I don't have any time to do the activities to get me even to that first milestone because I'm like, I'm in the weeds. I'm already jam-packed from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed. So this is why I like this idea of being a triage. We start there. So we're going to start at the bottom and say, tell you what, let's get you out of this perpetual place of feeling exhausted and overwhelmed day after day, week after week. And let's clean that up first so that now we have the systems in place and now we know how to prioritize and create the time on our calendar to actually go work on those goals. Because we always end up feeling like I see so many women who are like, I've stopped setting goals because I feel like a failure. And it's not that they're a failure, it's that no one's ever showed them how do you get your head around all the stuff you've got going on and still have time for yourself.
Oh, so good. I love the triage approach. So smart to do that because none of us have problems usually dreaming of new things to do, finding great ideas that we want to pursue, right? That comes so naturally to us. But finding the time to actually get it done, or even creating not even sometimes the time, but even just that mental energy to be able to focus on it, I feel like that's such a great approach to it. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I could take the entire year off and not complete all the things I have on my wish and dream list, right? Like you said, that's not the problem. But what is the problem is if you never have the opportunity to make progress on any of them. That's a sign you've got to get in and clean up the way you're managing your time on a day to day, week to week basis right now.
Yeah, I love that. And speaking of pursuing visions and goals and all of these amazing ideas, can you tell us what you do with your Fridays? Because I love your approach to
Yes.
Fridays. So walk us through your special sauce there.
And this is new for me, fairly new, and I'm loving it. So I found I'm always going back at the end of every week. Part of my whole weekly process is what I call my weekly success tracker. And I'm always going back, what worked, what didn't, what am I proud of? And I'm always looking back at how did I spend my time as well. And I started noticing a trend of the very limited time I work, which is usually only 4 or 5 hours a day at best. A lot of it started being in the business. And there are seasons where we have to be in and not on, but it was becoming a trend that I did not like. So I'm like, okay, I need to shift some priorities on how I'm allocating my time so that I can have that step in and be the CEO of my own business. And so I've now created Fridays as my CEO day. So I went into my calendar and I blocked every Friday off for like the unforeseeable future. So no one can book a call with me on a Friday without speaking to me personally about it and me making that conscious decision that it's a good use of my time on Friday. And so what that does is it gives me an opportunity to spend that Friday one of two ways. Usually I'm going to my backlog of all those ideas that we have because there's never ending supply and saying, what am I excited about exploring? what am I thinking about bringing into the business? What new strategy do I want to learn about to decide if it's a good fit? And that Friday is my chance to do that. So I treat myself to my favorite breakfast. I'm in like my cozy sweats and I'm like hunkered down, like playing with tech is fun for me. And that is how I'm able to quickly make decisions on this is a keeper versus that sounded great, but that's not going to be a good fit for me and my business. The other thing that that does is it gives me a little bit of that buffer zone to know that, yeah, I've got a plan for the week, but who's to say, as it did last week, that I'm not going to get a phone call from school saying you need to come pick your child up. There's been a contact exposure or whatever. And now what I was supposed to get done is gone. Well, guess what? Now I'm not working over the weekend to get caught up. I can move that into those Fridays if I need to as well.
Oh, I love everything about it. So smart. I just think that having that capacity in your schedule is really important, but also
Yes.
having that dedicated space to, as you said, really actually work on your business. I
Mhm.
think that's why you are always so on top of things and so ahead of things. And honestly, why you're as successful as you are. And so, for all of you listening, make sure if you can't carve out a full day today, make sure that you're at least protecting some space to work
Yes.
on your business and really go through and explore those things that you want to do that might help take your business to that next level.
Yeah, and make sure you're picking that time at a time that you know is the right energy for you. Like I notice usually by Fridays, I'm pooped, right? And so for me to be super tactical and like detail oriented, like that's just not a good fit for me on a Friday. So that's why that works well. You know, I say all day on Friday again, it's 4 hours, but maybe if like the afternoon is your creative energy, pick maybe an hour, 2 days a week where it's just reserved on your calendar for, for your strategic CEO time. And then just give yourself, you don't have to dictate how it's going to be spent till you're in that moment and what feels good to you at that time.
Yeah, such great advice. So tell people where they can find you, where they can find more about what you've got going on, and tell us what you have coming up in the new year.
Oh, I'm excited about that. So I am on Instagram and Facebook, just at Megan Sumrell. Easy to find there. And if you want any like the real life Megan, definitely my Instagram stories is where I'm in there personally the most. And Kristen, I have a shared love of constantly posting about our dogs. So you'll get to meet my crazy one in there too. And also you can find my podcast on all the podcast players at Work Life Harmony. But I will tell you, I'm super excited in January because I have my live top boot camp, which I only run live. Right now, it's scheduled for 2 times next year, maybe a third. So getting in and being a part of this in January would be huge. It's free. It kicks off January 10th and it's 30 minutes a day. That's it. 30 minutes a day for 5 days. Yes, you can catch replays. And you're going to get a behind the scenes look inside the top program. But more importantly, you're going to be learning some of the key systems that I teach in there as well, so that you could start 2022 with the knowledge of like, okay, I'm going to get out of overwhelm this year and I'm actually going to control my calendar again. So you can go grab a spot for free there at thetopbootcamp.com. Very easy to find.
I love it. And now for the big reveal. I can't wait to hear your answer to this question because, unlike a lot of other, folks that I have on the show, you actually know lean and know lean really well. So, with that being said, how do you work smarter, not harder, and keep things lean in your business?
By learning to embrace one very powerful word, which is no. And that sounds, I know, so cliche and simple, but it's a lot harder than it sounds. And I know a lot of women can understand this. We want to, our intentions are good by wanting to help and support and do all the things for all the people in our lives. But when we're always saying yes to others or we're being shoulded into things that maybe we don't want to do, all that does is add more to our plate. It's a polar opposite of being lean. So learning to embrace just saying no, or I live in the South, so women out here don't like to say that. So for you, it might be, I'm sorry, I can't. That's fine as well. But recognizing that putting yourself first and understanding that you are worthy of doing the things that are important to you does not make you a bad person by saying no. So people are very used to hearing that from me now. If they ask if I can do something, they're likely going to hear it, now's not a good time, or hey, no, but circle back up with me in 2 months because I think I may be able to support that then.
I love that. It's so smart. I mean, it's you have to be really intentional with your time,
Mhm.
especially when, as you said, you have 4 hours a day usually that you're dedicating to your business. And that's kind of a blessing because it forces you to be intentional, which means you have to say no a lot.
Yeah. And I tell you, the other blessing is, when you're talking about being intentional, people are always like, how do you get so much done? What's funny is I'm not getting nearly as much done as a lot of other women, or, other female entrepreneurs. But when I say I'm going to do something, it's mapped out and it's done to completion because nothing else is getting done. So it allows me to step into and be ultra productive with the time that I have because I'm not getting pulled in multiple directions.
Oh, I love that. All right. So, final question before we round this out, because I feel like we could just talk for days. But any final tips for people as they get ready to step into the new year? How can they really reclaim their time and achieve that work plus life harmony?
So when I think about reclaiming your time, I think it's that saying, how do you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been? And similar to a lot of times when people start on new health things, which I've got some strong opinions on that. Um, they'll tell you, oh, go write down everything that you've eaten for a week so that we can see what patterns are there and maybe things we want to change. Well, I always start everybody off inside my top program with a time audit. So I would encourage anybody who's never done that, the first week that's kind of normal for you. Don't do it while you're still on holiday downtime, but actually write down in 30-minute increments how you spend your time over the course of a week. And we're not doing this from a judgment perspective or to beat ourselves up. Really, it's an opportunity for you to get curious and look for, what are some patterns I'm seeing here? How often am I context switching? How many times did I go to Target last week? And could I maybe have just gone once if I had been more intentional with planning that out as well? And so we always start there. And most of the women, once they join the program, by day 3, they're in the group like, oh my gosh. I'm like, yep, they're doing the time audit. It's incredibly eye-opening, but it really sets
Thank
you
you for
up to be
joining me
like,
for
okay,
another
I'm
episode
ready
of the
to
Lean Out Your
embrace
Business podcast. I
learning
hope
some
you got a
ways
lot
to
of
get out
value
of
and
the rut
actionable
I'm in right now.
insights from today's show and would love if you take a moment to leave us a review. If you have any questions on today's episode or on how to lean out your business, join us over in our private Facebook community where every week we do live training and Q&A, and I'd love to have you be part of the conversation. Head to leanoutmethod.com/group to join us. And before you go, be sure to subscribe to the show so you're the first to know when we release a new episode. We'll see you next week. And we'll be back again with you next week.